e2 was the choice of Hikaru, as he is anticipating the opportunity of playing rook b3 and rook takes d3 as soon as he can. And again, we do have in our studio, sitting down with Maurice Ashley, former world champion, Bulgaria's #1 player, Veselin Topalov.
Thanks, Yaz. We're just checking out a couple of variations for Black, showing Veselin a possibility for him that he had not quite looked at. Veselin, first of all, yes, it was a bad game for you, but what is going on with this kid? The way he's playing is just pretty phenomenal.
Well, I mean, what can I say? I mean, he's just, I don't think he made any mistake somehow in all these 6 games, and he's really well prepared. So, and again, every game looks like he finds some new idea and he poses problems. So it was maybe, well, in this game somehow I didn't really evaluate correctly the position. I thought I had a good position, but maybe it was never really through. So
When the moment when you played Queen A5, we were looking at the databases to find precedent, and it looked like this idea of Queen A5 was somewhat new, or was it something you had prepared? Because he played Rook E2 instantly. It's just like he just totally expected this move.
Yeah, that's true. No, I more or less, of course, I was not 100% sure he was going to play like this, but I thought that Queen A5 and then like Bishop G5 and some kind of normal position, but otherwise, it's true that it makes no sense. I mean, if I don't push my pawns, then Queen A5 makes no sense, you know. But maybe, okay, here.
This endgame right here, you could have gone for.
Could be a little bit worse, of course, but probably it was, well, I thought, of course, it was his preparation. So, you know, somehow the idea of all these lines shouldn't be, you know, to go for a slightly worse ending, and it's, maybe Black has too many weaknesses, and it looks very easy for White to play. So here, of course, now, yeah, but okay, this is the line that you don't normally play, you know. To
Knight takes on E5, which was a long variation we worked at with the computer, help, of course, in some ways. But Yasser did point out this option in analysis. Easier to analyze when you're known enough to play the game.
I mean, it's also true that it looks like all this was his preparation. It's not like you go Knight E5 or you go the first move, which is C5, or I think his line probably continues here. His preparation.
It's amazing how his preparation has been quite powerful. Later we saw your position start to stabilize, Rook E8, and then it got to a point around Bishop C3 that it looked like you didn't have much to do how to improve your game.
You know, that I thought that actually my plan should be to place my knight on F8 and then Knight G6, you know, and then sometimes jumping on F4, but it's true that the rook on G7 is totally out of play. So that was the reason I thought that I could, you know, jump with my knight on D4 and to centralize, but it's simply not working. And of course here I blundered. What I missed was here, of course, my original intention was to go King G7, but then Queen E6 is not so good, you know.
Right.
But then he simply has the winning Queen H5, and then Rook F6.
So and this you missed when you were
yeah, and exactly. So it looks like he's not threatening much.
Other than Queen A6 mate.
But in fact, yeah, well, Queen H6 mate, but then also Rook H6. So yeah, so that's what I missed. I mean, it's for some reason I believed that Queen E6 was forced in order to open the bishop, but it's not the best move.
The Queen H5 is just, the bone cruncher.
And then I think it just totally lost.
No, this is.
But of course, okay, maybe I shouldn't take, but it's still already just a.
It's a bad situation.
I mean, it was a blunder, but again, maybe I thought that, okay, I could just make any move, you know, and then put the knight, but probably it's always just better for white. And these pawns are just weak. It's not. It looks like black has some, you know, activity, but objectively, it's probably never working. you know.
Well, certainly thank you for your graciousness. One last question. We really need to put it in context. You've played him 2 games now. You don't have to worry about this kid anymore. You get 4 games to play against the normal players right now, it seems. You've been around the chess scene for a while. Is this as amazing as anything you've seen?
Okay, it's absolutely impressive, of course. I could only remember Karpov in Linares. I think when he started 6.5 out of 7, it was extremely strong field as well. But that was a different kind. It was not a round robin. So that's, at the moment, that's the only...
We're going back 20 years to find that.
Yeah,
that's 1994.
Because, okay, honestly, San Luis, the Argentinian city of San Luis, when I
Where
played,
you won yours.
I do believe it was weaker than, you know, this event. So maybe even weaker than Linares. Because then we had, well, maybe not weak, but we had Judith. She was extremely in a very bad shape, and then I think Kasimjanov, he was then below 2,700. So
this is an average rating, 2802 to start the tournament.
Stronger,
this is absolutely strong. So you're impressed by this as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Veselin. We appreciate your spending some time with us, showing us your thoughts, and good luck playing the regular guys.
Okay.
Veselin Topalov, former world champion, class act as usual. Guys?
Thank you, Maurice. What do you think? Are we ready for a break, or?
Oh, I think we're going to get set up with Fabiano, and then we're going to take a break.
Of course.
So what do you think?
I'm
How
so
did this
reeling.
end up with Carlsen's game against Maxime Bachir-Legrave?
well,
Oh, you want to take a look at that first?
No. I'll bring up. So they, Maxine is actually should be pleased, although he again is suffering a pawn behind. At least in the position that they have, Black's king is no longer under those mating threats that would have occurred had there been a white pawn on g5. And also, to his credit, the pawn on h4, although it's not a big danger of going all the way and making a queen, white has rook h7 check. Black has improved his position.
But do you think we can somehow get the c-pawn running, or maybe even
Definitely.
put pressure on a7 at some point, make it difficult to protect that pawn?
Oh, well, definitely. White is going to be seeking to play c4, c5, and probably trying to maybe nurse its advance with his own king. But again, I mean, from a position where I really thought that Maxime was dead, that he wasn't going to be in the game beyond 20 moves, he's been given chances to save it. I would just put it like that.
Now we are ready with our guest, the Sinquefield Cup leader with a perfect 6 out of 6. And his rating keeps raising, 2830 now apparently, according to the live rating list. Fabiano Caruana is with Maurice Ashley.
Thanks, Jen. With Grandmaster Fabiano Fabulous Caruana. Fabiano, I know we've been asking you all kinds of questions. What I want to know is, what have you been eating? We want to hear. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Eggs and bacon.
Good old American breakfast. Well, congratulations on your game. Could you have imagined that the game would go like this? I mean, this was just a demolition.
Okay, I got my position out of the opening again. I prepared this line, so I was very comfortable, and he was clearly a bit rattled. I mean, which is normal when you're surprised from the opening and playing against someone who's just playing instantly and has everything analyzed. Okay, later he blundered. His position was already pretty unpleasant, but I think knight c6 just loses on the spot. And I think what he missed was he probably thought he could go with his king to g7.
He did point that out, yes.
And after queen h5 and rook f8, rook f6, it's just over immediately. And in the game, it was also over.
Very bad. How did it feel to play this move against an attacking genius like Veselin Topalov? This must have been a great moment. You spent some time, by the way. I guess you were allowed to spend time.
Well, I mean, I'm sacrificing a piece, so I have to double check that didn't miss something. I don't want to lose the game. I was still worried after I played it that I had missed something, but the variations seemed so straightforward.
And yeah, in fact, they were. And he didn't seem, he could have played knight d4 and kind of fought back. It's not really a fight, but you mentioned that Topalov, he's a great attacking player, but sometimes on defense he's a little uncertain and maybe just go, because he didn't have to go down that easy. He just fell apart.
It's probably losing. After knight d4, I wanted to play bishop c4, and he can win the exchange. But I think that, I mean, with queen c6, b3, knight c2. But I think even if he takes one of my rooks, I'll just mate him at some point. But yeah, he probably could have put up more resistance. But in any case, I think it's already pretty much lost.
People are comparing your performance to the performance of giants. Karpov back in '94 is the closest one anyone can think of. That's 20 years ago. You were 2. You don't even remember that happening. Can you contextualize being compared to those kind of epic performances?
Well, in terms of play, I'm not even close to Karpov.
You're still a decent player, I remember, right? Just decent.
But, okay, I mean, his performance, yeah, I really didn't expect that I could do anything like this. And, yeah, I guess it's one of the, well, let's see how the last 4 games go, but so far it's, yeah, probably one of the best ever.
How do you get your mind right for the future games? I mean, you could go 10-0?
No, I don't think so. I'm not even thinking about that. I just want to play solidly the remaining games, try not to lose anything, and just keep playing normal chess.
You're going to be facing, is it Vasily Graf tomorrow?
Yeah.
Expectations, thoughts about that game?
Okay, I'm black, so I mean, okay, when you're black, from the start you're always under a bit of pressure. You have to first equalize the game, and I'll just try to play normally. Maybe he's not feeling at his best at the moment if he loses today against Magnus, but in any case he's still a very dangerous player, and I have to keep control and try to play a solid game.
28-30. You were just like 28-02, 28-30? Does that make any sense?
It's unexpected. I'll try to keep it in the future. Of course, it's not easy to keep a rating like that, but okay, if I keep playing good chess, then I should be able to.
Well, keep playing good chess, decent chess. The nicknames are continuing for you. We appreciate your play, and it's a joy to watch your games. Good luck in the rest of your games.
Thank you.
Our leader, first place, with a perfect 6-0 score. Just an amazing start. We are watching history in the making. Fabiano Caruana with us. We're not worthy. Yaz, you're right. We're not worthy. Guys?
Such a fun game, too. Really fun to watch. And, you know, a few rounds ago, Fabiano, when he was just 3-0,
yes,
he said he was playing decently.
Yes.
This round, he mentioned that he was playing normally and that he would like to continue to play normally.
And solidly.
Yeah, and, you know, there's this new fashion thing called normcore, which is
Cool.
the idea that you should just kind of dress really understated, normal.
Right.
So bringing normal back, Fabiano Caruana with 6 out of 6. And we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more from the 2014 Sinquefield Cup as we see whether world champion Magnus Carlsen can grind another endgame win against MVL.
I'm Magnus Carlsen, and you're watching the Sinquefield Cup live here from St. Louis.
And we'll keep an eye on Magnus Carlsen's game against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave today, whether he can squeeze out a win there. Meanwhile, Maurice Ashley has the answer to the puzzle with Krasenko versus Nakamura.
This is one of those finishes that you remember forever. When we saw this get published, I remember personally seeing it get published, and I just thought, who is this kid? So young was Nakamura when he played this queen sacrifice. I don't know if you guys found this. If you didn't know the answer and you found it, kudos to you. You're on the path to becoming a top 2,700 player. This move is beautiful. White has just played the move bishop to f6. That looks delicious. He's attacking this bishop twice. He's discovering an attack on the queen. His bishop's got this rook on lockdown. It looks like he's about to wrap up the point against this upstart kid. Except here comes a queen sacrifice out of nowhere. This sacrifice, an incredible move, king takes, and then the beautiful move, bishop to c5 with check. And now this bishop hiding in wait. Don't step to f1 because c3 is going to happen and you're just going to get ripped. So White had to go up the board and face the wrath of a harmonized black army. King to g4 was played, and now knight to e5 with check. And you can already start feeling the heat for this king. He played king g5. It didn't matter what he did at this point. He tried to play the most logical moves and wondered, maybe I'm okay here. Except suddenly, here comes this waiting move, guarding this square, threatening mate on h6. And suddenly, White has nothing to do because his army is too far away. So he had to sacrifice this rook for this knight. But that brought this rook into the game, rook check. And now after king to h4, a beautiful retreating move, taking over for the knight square, the square that the knight had taken in the first place. And this one now, 3 pieces ganging up on the king. And all these white forces just spectators as the king is shredded. A fantastic finish by Nakamura, showing the kind of tactical skills that he has. And that's why he is now one of the elite players on the planet. Guys?
Beautiful finish by Hikaru. And today, though, he isn't given those opportunity to show his tactical flair, as we've seen a very quiet game, and where he got outplayed, and still the game.
Yeah, let's take a look at the position now, because
the actual position on the board.
It looks like it's okay for White now, right? So Black's just captured a pawn on a2, but we should be able to win one of those back, c6 or a7.
Exactly. A move like queen d7 is looking very attractive, with the idea of hitting as many pawns as you can.
And indeed, queen d7 was played, and Levon responded to it with king to g8, so guarding both against the queen e8 mating ideas and against just queen takes f7.
Exactly. So king g8. And this game appears to be heading towards a draw.
Right, sure, we can take on c6, and then if...
Queen takes c6. And now I think it's just time to make luft, just to give our king a little bit of you might want, Jen, in this position, to force Black's knight to a little bit more passive before capturing, just so that the knight isn't actually sitting out here. But still, this looks
like it will be drawn, right? Because either player tries to harass one of those pawns, then the other player will harass the other, and there will be that nice little balance
going on in the position. Still, this particular queen and bishop combination, I do see that there is some dangers to Black's king, and it appears that White has the sunny side, I would say, of a drawn position. Now, in our other key game that's still going on, Magnus had entered this bishops of opposite color endgame position where he was a pawn ahead, but Maxime has done very well to get play for himself by moving his h-pawn, as we see now. This move, bishop a5, was a very important move. White was dreaming that he would get the opportunity of playing e5 to f6, followed by rook on e7 to e8 check and mate, the pawn on f6 guarding the g7 square, the bishop on e4 guarding the h7 square. So this key move, bishop a5, in order to be able to play bishop takes c3 check, followed by bishop takes f6, provoke Magnus to play c4, and now the move h3. And, well, I think
Maxime's doing a good job of holding the balance here?
Well, he's getting very, very close to saving the position at this moment. So I think Magnus is feeling that somewhere earlier he had slipped, and he's let his opponent off the hook.
Sure, now Black's going to try to play h2, and the threat of rook takes e4 is in the position. So
precisely.
I think White might be compelled to try to prevent that, play a move like f6 even.
Well, f6, like we say, just walks into this bishop check, and we get to grab this pawn. I was thinking that maybe...
But at least we can get our rook behind the pawn then. That's what I was thinking, to stop it from running up the board.
Right. I was thinking that if anything, rook e6, you get a position maybe like this, and you hope that you can somehow break the blockade.
And
but
it does look like Magnus has played a couple of moves, and he played your move, rook to e6.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I do think that this move h2, oh, hold on, we can slip in a check, but that's not, sorry, so what moves have been played after?
The problem
rook
is that the bishop on e4 is hanging, so you don't have time to play rook h6 and rook takes h2.
Precisely.
Meanwhile, rook takes e4 is obviously the threat after h2. So Maxime on move right now.
And we're expecting this move h2. And just to finish this line, if we do see this, what Black is wanting to do is bringing his king very quickly over here so that he can toss away his pawn and take this pawn. So first he has to stop e7.
Yeah, bishop e4 or bishop e8.
Yeah, okay, let's say bishop b4.
Because it gives you fewer options, right? There's no c5 at all.
Right, but on the other hand, Magnus has got to calculate if he's in time in a position like this, whether or not he'll... But I think that this is just going to save the day for Maxime. If he can get his king to c7, I don't think he has any problems holding the draw. Those bishops of opposite color, it's going to be very hard for Magnus to win the dark squares, overcome the dark square blockade, I mean to say. In any case, Maxime has no choice. I think he simply has to go for this line and hope that it's enough for him to hold the game.
That's right, and it looks like he has just played a move, so we're expecting h2. Maurice, some thoughts?
Well, that game is proceeding a bit apace, so I'd like to make this short. The moment we saw here was this move h5, a very interesting move, maybe necessary move by MVL. And after takes, rook takes, attacking the bishop across the board and also attacking this pawn. So bishop takes, pawn takes, and now bishop back to e4, still well played by Magnus. But it was here after rook to h1 that the computers are criticizing Magnus's next move, the move f4. They thought that the best move here was actually to play the move c4, or maybe even rook h7 with this idea, keeping an edge. The rook could always go here and be prepared to stop this pawn from going any further, and this bishop will come in at the right moment. Just as long as the bishop is secure, the insecurity of this bishop or security of this bishop was the main thing to worry about in this position. Instead, Magnus played the move f4, and that caused some problems for him after this rank was controlled. Now c3, as the king can make no further progress, and now h4, f5, and now rook to e3, and we see that bishop now unable to maintain its security. The best move they give, they're already saying, the computer is saying that this move, this position is sort of equal, that the bishop has to kind of float along this diagonal, but it gets away from this idea of the rook being able to get behind the passed pawn. Critical to have your rooks behind passed pawns. Can't get to h7 anymore, so this move Magnus played rook to e6, and already the engines are saying, believe it or not, Black's better. I don't get that. That seems a bit crazy in this position. Bishop a5, yes, was played, c4, and the move h3, and rook to e6 was played by Magnus. and the move h2 was played, and now bishop to d5, and now the engines are coming around and saying, okay, you're right, it's equal. And so this position should be a draw, coasting towards that result now. And with a draw in this game, that would mean that Caruana would be up 3 full points with 4 rounds to go. That reminds us of golf when a guy is up a bunch of holes, a bunch of points with holes to go, with a few holes to go, and you just, unless he bogeys every single hole, you ain't gonna catch him. And it looks even worse here. Even if Caruana lost, like we could imagine him losing 2 games out of the next 4, he still has the tournament in his pocket. So it looks like this result is making it closer and closer to that mathematical certainty, certainly to betting certainty, that Fabiano Caruana is going to win this tournament. And the real question is, will he win with a perfect score? He said he doesn't think it's going to happen, but if these players keep trying to hunt him down every single game and make him play, we might see something special here at the Sinquefield Cup. Guys?
Put your life savings on it. No, just kidding. We don't advocate for that kind of thing here. Malcolm Payne, kind of clarifying what he said earlier.
Sure.
He said that this is the greatest tournament result of all time, or it's shaping up to be. Not to be confused with Fischer's 20-0 streak in match play, which included match play.
I'm thinking.
So making a little bit of a distinction there.
Well, there's been some really great performances, outstanding. I still remember this tournament that Gary Kasparov won. It was the GMA tournament in Belfort. He had some unbelievably wicked score. And again, Linares 94, 11 out of 13 by Anatoly Karpov was simply unbelievable. During the break, I was actually chit-chatting with Rex Sinquefield, and Rex said that prior to the tournament beginning, the probability of Caruana, especially Caruana because he wasn't the highest rated player in the field, the possibility of him winning 6 in a row was 3%. And Tony Rich has created a little probability table before
3%? 3%? You mean less than that, right?
No, the idea that Fabiano could have started with a 6-0 result before the tournament.
I would think
it was like 97% against that happening.
I mean, it would be even less than 3%.
I thought so too.
Yeah, 3% that's really surprising.
Sounded like a lot.
3% sounds more like 4 or 5.
But no, 3%. Well, according to the probabilities that Tony had calculated.
Regardless, whether it's 3% or 1/3%, it's pretty marvelous.
Pretty remarkable. And speaking of heading towards a draw, Maxime did play this move, bishop to d8, just defending against the pawn advance. I had actually considered, however briefly, the move king g7, e7, queen. But in this particular position, queen by white, there's no reason that Maxime would allow 2 queens to appear on the board. So he did play this correct move, I want to say, bishop d8, and there's no way that Magnus can prevent the king from coming to f6, and then the pawn on h2 is traded for the pawn on e6, and the resulting a2 c4 extra pawn, unfortunately, is not going to be enough for Magnus to win.
I think we're off by a digit, really. I just was thinking about it. I think they might be off by a decimal point, because think about that. If it was 3%, that would mean that this result happens 3 out of 100 Sinquefield Cups. I don't think so.
Right.
I think maybe 3 out of 1,000 sounds more right. I think that sounds. I think they meant maybe 1/3%. We'll check on that.
Rex
but
to clarify.
1/3% sounds more correct than 3% to me, doesn't it? Imagine this tournament happens 1,000 times. How many times does Fabiano Caruana start with 6-0?
Right.
I think 3 out of 1,000 sounds more in the ballpark than 3 out of 100. That's not even that low. I mean, poker, we play poker, 3%. 3% is big. That can happen.
You're all in, right? Okay, gotcha.
Well,
All right.
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying
understand.
we can get lucky. 3%.
All right. Let's just see what we have left. The players are in a queen and pawn endgame between.
And we have a draw in the. We have a result in the Carlsen and Vachier-Lagrave game.
Okay, the players played very quickly. Let's see how we got here. When we had left it, the rooks had been traded, and then Magnus, recognizing the impossibility of winning the game, played very quickly, got to this position, and offered a draw, as there's no way for him to break the blockade that Black has set up.
Magnus is leading fast. He does not look happy.
Not a happy
One
camper.
interesting stat that probably won't surprise those of you who've been watching this with an eagle eye, Fabiano Caruana is now closer to #1 than to #3 for the first time.
Well, he
So
entered
he's
the tournament behind
Aronian, and now he's actually closer to Magnus than he is to Aronian. That's
He's
the
made
idea.
such a gap between himself and Levon. Wow.
And that's a tweet from Top 40 Chess. So.
Thank you to that. And by the way, just for our amateur players in the audience, just to explain, why would Magnus, world champion Magnus, 2 pawns up, offer a draw to anybody? Well, what Magnus understood is that, for example, after bishop, king, 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 you can get this. What's going to happen is Black is just waiting, and there is no way for White to win with the pawns. So he just goes back and forth with it. King just waits, and that's why a draw was offered.
So classic blockade. We've seen bishops of opposite color in the middle game in the Topolov game where he won.
Right.
So in this case, the exact opposite. It's the end game, and that's why they call them drawish.
Right. And also another blockade that you can't break is if he goes bishop c5, king here, and you just maintain your bishop on this diagonal. There's no way for White to push his pawns through Black's position.
Now, meanwhile, Maurice Ashley looks excited about something. What's up?
You must have read my mind or something, because I was just thinking about this great start by Fabiano Caruana. Just such an epic start to a tournament. And the idea that he started in 3rd place on the rating list, and he was that close to I mean, it was just mathematical, it was a point or two, but that he's now put such a spread that he's up at 28-30. I mean, when you think about that, that's insane. You only gain 10 points, and you're jumping up and down in the streets that you gain 10 points at that level. And to have gained 30, almost 30 rating points, that's obscene. That's absolutely obscene, and he separated himself from the rest of the pack, and we're seeing the 2 top players in the world right now, one that he's already defeated, the #1 player. I can't wait to see that matchup happen again. What do you think Magnus is thinking when he plays Fabiano that next one? I mean, everybody in the tournament now is going to have to, I mean, what are they thinking? Get a draw? They're all playing for 2nd place. I mean, that's the fact. They're playing for 2nd place, which is a nice $70,000, I believe. So they're playing for 2nd. They have to make sure they don't lose to this guy. I mean, he's just stomping on everyone's heads. So will they go for a draw with white pieces, or will somebody say, I'm taking up the gauntlet. I want to be the one that stops this run at history and holds him back, show that he's actually mortal. Just a really amazing situation. It percolates with so many possibilities. I'm completely enjoying myself here, a bit too much here at the Sinquefield Cup. Just awesome. And I'll just say this. There are 2 types of chess tournaments. One where the players play to the very end. We love these. Last round, everybody's tied and they're going for the marbles. Or one where a person is showing that he just dominates. Nobody can touch him, and he keeps winning. Most importantly, not just drawing to finish the tournament, but keeps on winning. And we're seeing that one now, and it's just as exciting. Guys?
And let's take a look at the world rankings updated as we marvel at Fabiano's incredible performance here. We've got Magnus Carlsen, 28.62, #2 in the world now, 28.30, and yeah, look at that gap between #3 now. Levon Aronian, 27.93. Veselin Topalov, 27.81. Hikaru Nakamura, 27.73. And MVL at 27.67.
Wow.
So great, yeah, just great to get updated on that as well.
From Malcolm Payne's tweet about, great tournament performances, okay, not necessarily elite events, but certainly eye-catching, eye-popping. I recall Sofia Polgar. Remember Sofia?
8.5 out of 9. That was in Italy.
Exactly.
Speaking of Italians.
Instantly, obviously it connected with you too. That was just an incredible TPR. I thought it was over 3,000. I could be mistaken. Then there was Alexander Morozevich. Also, I think it was a Lloyd's Bank tournament. I'm not 100% sure, but he went something like 9.5 out of 10. It's just an absolutely phenomenal performance. Ran away.
Completely defying the math. And we do have some math whizzes typing in that.
And just telling us what the odds are?
That the odds of something like that happening obviously are not going to be totally precise because of the momentum effect and whatnot. But yes, that I think it was 1/3%. Not so off by one decimal point. Not really a big deal, right?
But still, absolutely extraordinary. And we have
world champion Magnus Carlsen with Grandmaster Maurice Ashley to talk about today's game.
Thanks, Jen. The #1 player in the world, Magnus Carlsen, with us. Magnus, it looked like you had some chances in this game, but they seemed to slip away after a couple of imprecise moves.
Yeah, I mean, I missed a number of things. I think this endgame should be technically winning for me, but then, yeah, he defended quite well, and I just kept on missing stuff. But I think it must be very close to winning at least.
Do you feel slightly off form this tournament, the way you've been playing the last 4 rounds or so?
I thought yesterday, I mean not yesterday, but the game with Aronian was okay. In general, I played 3 good games with black and 3 terrible ones with white, and I don't know why.
So a draw now puts you at 3 points behind Fabiano. I mean, this guy's playing out of his mind. What did you think about his game today?
I thought Topalov played horribly today. I mean, still you got to win it, so he did well.
So he's got 6 points. You've got 3. He's plus good God knows what. What do you think about the rest of the tournament? Is there anyone who's going to catch him?
No. I mean, there's not. I mean, I'm 3 points behind, and I'm the closest. So naturally, he's not going to be caught. But I don't know. I'll do my best in the rest of the games, including the one against him. But I mean, after today, I lost the very, very little hope I had left of winning the tournament.
I was saying, it looks like the other players are playing for second place now. Does that matter to you that you're going for second place?
I don't care about second place. I just want to, finish with some good games and get a positive result that, yeah, that's what I need to do. And if that's enough for a second or third or whatever, that we'll see.
The individual game against him you mentioned, I was saying there are 4 games left. People might want to bring him back down to earth. You think that players are going to have the attitude, play him to the fullest and try to defeat him?
I don't know. I think, yes, I mean, tomorrow, I wouldn't bet on Fabiano winning another game, but then again, he's won 3 blacks so far, so.
You mean tomorrow's game? You wouldn't bet
tomorrow.
on him winning tomorrow's game?
Tomorrow's game, yeah.
And because he's...
Yeah, I mean, Maxim is probably going to play pretty solidly with white, but then again, I might be wrong.
Just one last question. You seem down right now. You seem dejected. Is it's
just, I had such a good position today. This game really could have turned not the tournament around, but my own tournament around, and I screwed up. So that's why I'm in a bit of a foul mood now.
Oh, all right. Well, Enjoy the rest of the evening. We hope your mood picks up. We look forward to seeing your great play, and good luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
World number 1, Magnus Carlsen, after a draw, and we'll see what he can do to get his tournament back on track. Guys?
Magnus seemed anxious to escape there. And, off he
Priceless
goes.
smile, though.
I know. One of the things I admire very much about Magnus, by the way, is an incredible objectivity, not only at the chessboard, but just in terms of keeping everything under perspective.
Speaking of smiles, Levon Aronian and Hikaru Nakamura analyzing their game, which of course was a draw.
Yes.
That steered that direction for a little while.
The queen ending 3 versus 3, easy draw for these top grandmasters, even though at the very end, Hikaru had a smidgen of an edge just because of his better structure, but dead draw.
And so tomorrow we're going to see some interesting matchups.
What are the matchups we're going to see?
Well, we've got Carlsen versus Nakamura, and we've got Maxime Vachier-Lagrave against Caruana.
That's the key game.
Right, Caruana is going to be black, and Veselin Topalov against Levon Aronian.
Wonderful. Always great games and great matches in every round. But MVL.
And 2 Sicilians today, right?
MVL, can he do it?
We could have expected that. And we are going to take a look at the standings. 6 out of 6 for Fabiano Caruana, right?
Still awesome. That's what they say in Missouri, by the way. Awesome.
Yeah, and we're picking up those standings. And yeah, 6 out of 6. Just one of the most incredible performances ever, and not over yet. Tomorrow, Black Pieces against MVL. Game will be exciting. Anything can happen.
Without a ding, it's almost impossible to calculate Fabiano's tournament performance rating. It's way up there, maybe as high as 3,600. But without a draw, it's impossible to calculate.
In the stratosphere, that's
yes.
right. Carlsen in second place. So, you know, he was in the basement a couple rounds before, so picking up, and as he mentioned in the interview, needs to dig deeper with white pieces. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, 2.5. Veselin Topalov, 2.5. Tied for last, Hikaru Nakamura and Levon Aronian, they split the point today.
Right.
So both of them are going to be looking to just increase their rating and try to fight for those top prizes. Second place is $75,000. Magnus says that doesn't affect him. He's more interested in the world rankings and playing some good chess.
True. He's not interested in second. He's interested in proving himself. Every time he steps on the board, he wants to prove himself that not just world champion, but #1.
So lots to play here still at the Sinquefield Cup. Final thought from Grandmaster Maurice Ashley.
Well, looking at those standings, it's pretty remarkable. It looks as though one player is playing by himself and the others are in a group together with a heated battle for second place. We could almost get excited about that race if it mattered so much. You saw Magnus say, second place, Pasha, I'm not really interested. But I'm sure the other players are thinking, well, you don't be interested, but 75G sounds kind of nice to me. So that will be some real play still going on. They've basically acquiesced to the fact that Fabiano is going to win the tournament, and they don't want to be victims to him. You heard the statement, which I think is kind of curious statement by Magnus, that Vachier-Lagrave is going to play solidly. He's not going to try too hard, so he doesn't think that Fabiano is going to have a win tomorrow. Well, MVL is going to have to say something about that, because certainly he's looking to seek revenge for his loss against Fabiano. So I think that game will be interesting, will be exciting, and as will the other games as these players fight it out in the final 4 rounds of the Sinquefield Cup. Guys?
And my final thought is a great quip by Hans Kamak. Hans Kamak was the arbiter in the U.S. Championship that Bobby Fischer won 11-0. At the closing ceremony, Hans Kamak came to Grandmaster Larry Evans and congratulated him on the first place. Then he turned to Bobby Fischer and congratulated him on his exhibition. What we are witnessing is an exhibition here by Fabiano Caruana.
I was wondering when that story was going to come up, and I feel like this was a perfect time. So if you want to continue watching history in the making here at the Sinquefield Cup, the strongest tournament ever and one of the best performances of all time by Fabiano Caruana, then tune in tomorrow for round 7 action 1:50 Central Standard Time and 2:50 on the East Coast.